afternoon, everybody. I want to introduce myself. My name is Peter Johnson, and I teach adaptive ed down in Red Wing, Minnesota. I've been here for the past, my 12th year. I started teaching at all of our buildings, so K through 12, and now I just teach at our buildings, our middle school 5 through 7, and then our high school is 8 through 12, along with our DCD transition program. I just want to thank you for watching, and at the end I have my email address. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them via email anytime. So first, I just want to talk transition. I know this won't be anything new to probably most of you. A lot of you have transition kids. Maybe some of you struggle with transition kids. Maybe some of you have more ideas than me. I just thought that I'd be willing to share some different ideas on transition and what I've kind of done with transition down here in Red Wing. So I will pull up my presentation and then we'll get started. All right, so like I said, we're going to talk transition today, both pre-COVID and things that I did last spring during COVID. Just a couple things on transition is our district kind of has a transition building across the whole county that's across from our high school that encompasses all different levels, a lot of your students with autism or students with learning disabilities or things a little bit higher functioning. And then recently we were told we needed to have a separate transition program for our DCD, SP and MM type students, which we housed at our Red Wing High School. So then it started me to think of how can I do more things with those students. So that's kind of how this came about. This was will be our second full year of doing this. So we'll see how it goes this year in COVID. As I'm recording this, we're planning to go a hybrid. So I'll be able to see the kids now when it's being seen here by you guys at the end of September. I don't know what kind we'll be in, probably distance learning, but that's just a guess of mine. So I'm just going to kind of go through some different ideas and things for both pre-COVID and post-COVID, and then some ideas of where I'd like to take my program from there. So the first one, as you can see, is to get info from the students. These are transition kids. So whether it's the student that is a little more higher functioning that can give you some of their ideas and you may have to kind of poke and prod them, or whether you need to talk to some of the parents. It's a little more of your lower SP type students that you may need to talk to the parents of what are they able to get them to and get them out, what kind of vision do they have, what things would they like to see their child do for the rest of their life. So it's get info on their likes and dislikes. Will they use their last eval with some sort of a checklist or some sort of a questionnaire with the student and or the parents? If it's been a while since that and that you can't really find any good information, then I would just at the beginning of the year, just do some informal sit down and talk to them if possible. Otherwise, yeah, shoot the parents an email at the beginning of the year and just say, hey, a reminder, my name is Mr. Johnson. I'm your child's DAPE teacher. I'd like to get some transition type things going, activities, and maybe explain what that would look like. Some ideas, and then see what they have to say. And then, pick 1 to 2 activities. The next one, pick 1 to 2 student-picked activities for the day. Could be simple. We'll talk about that in a little bit. What types of different activities they could be, but I try to have it student-driven. If we're going to go to the park, we'll talk about that in a little bit too. If we're going to get out, Red Wing is a great area with lots of parks. So we will get on a bus and we'll go because we have block periods. We have 80, 90-minute classes. So we have plenty of time to take a bus ride, 10, 15 minutes to a park, do some things, and then come back to class. So we'll talk about that. Maybe we go out once. Typically, we've gone all out once a week to a park in the fall and the spring. So we would kind of talk about that in some of our block class. When we're going to go to AP Park next week, what do we want to do? Any activities we want to bring? What type of equipment do we have at school, or what type of equipment do you have at home that you'd like to bring? So we kind of have that discussion. For staying in the school building, a lot of times we will start with our fitness portion. We use the weight room a lot. I'll talk about that in a little bit. So we will discuss a lot of that about what are we going to do in the weight room. And so then once we're done in the weight room, we will discuss, what do we want to do in the gym or outside? I'll kind of ask one student to be responsible per day of what should the group do, and I kind of let them drive it because they are adults now, so they should maybe make some more choices when possible. Some students, you might need to give pick symbols. So shorten it down to 2 choices and let them pick from, a Frisbee or a basketball, something like that. Others, you might need to just give a short written list of options and let them kind of pick for that. Some, again, might do better on verbal options. All these are just, different ways to make the kids feel comfortable and how they want to communicate that. I've worked a lot with our speech language pathologist. She comes to our classes a lot. And so it's a lot of what's the best way to help with the student communicate their needs, their wants, or things like that. Some of them need more time. Some of them I need to say, hey, I want you to think about for next class. We would have class every other day the past few years in the block schedule. So it'd be, today's Monday. On Wednesday when we come back from class, I want an idea or two what we want to do during our recreational leisure activity time. So again, just some examples of some at-school activities. A lot of your basic lawn games outside. Your ladder ball, your bocce ball, your beanbag toss, your washers, your rollers. When I didn't add in there, I got that you can do inside. Technically, a lawn game as well is giant Jenga. I bought that from Gopher last year, and it's really kind of fun to do that. Whether you choose one giant tower, or if you have some kids, I can kind of split it into 2 groups and have 4 or 6 kids working on that as well, and play some giant Jenga. Other things you can do that are, again, recreation and leisure activities. Badminton outside, we play tennis. Inside and outside, you can play pickleball. We'll do bowling, Frisbee golf, or just playing catch with the Frisbee. We have a generous green space at our high school, because our high school is kind of outside of the city of Red Wing. So we have kind of a trail and some other things that we use as well. Even in times we're at school, we go out and we walk. We're going to walk around all the fields today. We're going to walk on the trail and come back on the other side of the high school, and then we'll walk back around the high school. So we kind of have an advantage of that on top of the parks that we have. School weight room, I use the school weight room a lot, and teaching those kids all the way up from when they come in 8th grade. That's a great lifetime and leisure avenue and activity for them. So they learn teaching them the basic lifts and stretches and doing some yoga. We have some turf in there, so we got some space like that. And then in our weight room, we have an elliptical, we have a stationary bike, and we have a treadmill. And so getting them how to use all of them, how to do that as independently as possible. Can they figure out a proper speed for them? Can they set the time? All of those types of things. And then when they're done, can they wipe it down and things like that, and get it ready for the next person. So we work hard in that in my curriculum from grade 8 all the way up. But by the time they're older, they should have a very good idea. So those kids, it's a lot of sitting down and talking about what types of muscles we want to lift, what types of lifts do you like, and combining with cardio and giving them the option of, do you want to do your cardio first today? Do you want to lift your weights first, and things like that, and getting them to understand a lot of that. So we worked, like I said, we worked very hard on that. Depending on some of our students, we work on push-pull type muscles and oppositional muscles, just within the muscle groups, and teaching them a lot of those things within our school weight room setting. So again, it just depends on their independence level, but I have quite a few that'll come in and do their routine. Over the years, I've used an iPad and Google Form to record their stuff. So I'll pull up all their Google Forms, and they'll record the amount of weights or the amount of reps or whatever it is that they need to record on there, and we'll kind of move on from there, and they'll kind of figure that out. So those are kind of types of things that we do a lot at school. Off-school activities, like I said, do you have any parks you guys can get to and access? Red Wing is a tremendous park community. We have lots of different parks. We have the river running right by our town, between us and Wisconsin. So we have a lot of parks either on the river or near the river. We have bike trails. We have other types of paved blacktop trails that we can get to. So in the fall, and then when the weather gets nice in the spring, we go to at least one of those different ones a week. All of our parks, have walking paths around them. So you're able to walk, and they all have posted signs of distances. So like our Bayfront Park, Bay Point Park, is got that confused with Duluth. Bay Point Park it's 0.67 times around, whereas then Cobble is 1 full mile all the way around. You can walk from our Levy Park to our Bay Point Park, and so then we can drop the bus off have the bus drop us off at 1. We can walk from Levy Park to right along the river to Bay Point Park, and then do some of those things. So that's one thing that we talk about beforehand. We make sure we walk it so that they know, because that's a great, whether they walk, bike, run, any of those things are all appropriate activities for them for lifelong. So we work on the names of those and then what they can do on the path. And then some other things that once we get to the park, for our first time at the park, is some of our parks have tennis courts, some of them have basketball courts, some of them have both, some of them have swings, some of them have other playground equipment. So it's, is it what's developmentally appropriate? Is it developmentally appropriate? We talk a lot about that for our 18 to 20-year-olds to be running around on the small playground equipment that my 2-year-old's going to run on. Probably not. If they're still in, smaller in the 8th grade, then it's probably more appropriate, and teaching them that if there are smaller kids, that they need to get off and let them play. So it's a lot of teaching them those types of things and helping them understand at each park, what does each one have. And then there's always open spaces. So we always talk, again, we're going to go to Cobble Park, there's open spaces. So we'll talk the class period before, what type of equipment do we want to bring? What type of activities would you like to do? Oh, you want to play some Frisbee? Excellent. I'll bring some Frisbees. We're going to play some soccer, or somebody wants to play some football. And then it's a great time to, again, work with your speech pathologist and the case managers of when we get there about, they'll each grab their own item and then they'll run off and look for somebody to play with. It's socially engaging with one another of, hey, will you play football with me? Sure, I'll play football with you for a little bit. Then would you play Frisbee with me? And getting them to start those conversations. Or if all the other students are playing with somebody and there's myself and another paraprofessional around, getting them to then engage us of, well, will you play catch with me? So that's another great aspect to getting out in some of these parks and trying to teach them to articulate themselves a little bit. One of the other things we did, started last year, is our school district purchased 12 YMCA memberships. So we got a family membership for 9 months through our local YMCA that we could then use throughout the transition program, whether they were DAPE students or not DAPE students. I kept 6 or 8 of them, and the other the actual transition case manager, she kept the rest of them for the kids that weren't. So we used the local YMCA at least once a week, once the weather turned poor, and that was a great thing to kind of get them exposed to what it's like to work out in a fitness center going forward through the rest of their life. We also have quite a few other fitness centers, and I'll talk about that later on. But, it's a great way to, talk with the case managers of, as you can see, what's the process, to check in. The first couple of times we went and viewed the locker rooms, and we had social stories of how to appropriately use the locker room. Do we need to use the locker room? Things like that. Like when it's nice out, there are other lockers up by our fitness center. So we just maybe need to change our shoes or leave our light coat in there. We don't have to go all the way down to the locker room and change. What other types of things does that facility have to offer? Like our YMCA, we have a pool, we have a sauna, we have a hot tub, they have racquetball courts. We talked about the child center, that they don't have children, but that's something that people do, is they come and they drop their kids off so that they can get a workout in and things like that. So one of the things we did initially when we went on a certain day of the week, when we went on Mondays, is we went and used the fitness center. And we tried to incorporate the things that we were lifting at school and understanding the lifts and things and the cardio machines we're using there, and getting them acclimated over to using it, the same types of lifts, the same machines at a different location, and seeing how they can adapt and how much help that we had to get them to do. And it was fun over the semester and over the year, watching them become more and more independent with that and needing less and less help. And then also, again, teaching those social skills. If somebody else is on this machine that you don't know, what's a proper distance to stand? Is it appropriate how to talk to them, when not to talk to them, and things like that. When you're on the treadmill next to them, is it appropriate to stare at their TV that they have going the entire time instead of watching your own TV, or changing if you like that channel by figuring out a way to make what they're watching show up in your screen. So again, it's a lot of social interaction with that. So we worked hard in the fitness center. We were there on Mondays. And then when we had class on Tuesdays every other week, we actually had time and the ability to use our pool. We have a 0 entry warmer pool, and then we also had a lap pool. So some of the kids we were teaching more basic swimming skills in our zero entrance 3.5-foot pool, so they could touch, and we're teaching them that. Other ones that could swim, we're working on cardio endurance, because swimming there, and they could see the other adults in the other lap pool swimming. It's a great lifetime activity. It's teaching them, they're able to change with some assistance. Some of them were able to do it on their own. We showered. We incorporated all those things, working with our occupational therapists of how do we do that. So that was a great experience for all of those kids, and that's something that probably not this year, but going into next year, we will try to do again. So then the next avenue for me personally in Red Wing is to talk to. We have Snap Fitness in town. We have Anytime Fitness. I think we still have a 24/7 workout area. Is talking to them to see if they will allow us, can we pay $5 or play lesson free once in a while, just to acclimate ourselves to that type of a setting as well. So it's not just specifically to the YMCA, even though they've been great to us through the school district. But those other places, because Red Wing is kind of a east-west spread out town around the river. So if you live 15 minutes, on the western side of town, you maybe want to go to the Snap Fitness that is much closer than trekking all the way across the east side of town. I should mention one thing, that our district is very, very supportive of this. So they have, there's a busing cost that they had already used the bus for something else. So we kind of this last year reappropriated the cost of the bus. So it didn't cost me. I didn't have to raise any money. It didn't cost our transition case manager or anything. It was something that the school already did. So we were able to use the bus twice a week, Mondays and Tuesdays. They'd already, kind of had it already in there. So we're looking forward to continuing that going into the future. It's been a great benefit for us. We'll talk about some other kids that take some of our Hiawatha Transit type things as well. And I'll talk about that here coming up. Other community type outings that we have, work with your case manager and what some larger community outings that you can do. So what I did last year, right before Christmas, we took the transition kids that I had and the rest of the transition kids, and we went to the bowling alley, but the class was typically over lunch. So we went down there, and as you can kind of see, how did we get there? We used school vans. We did have a couple take the Hiawatha Transit. So they left even earlier to get used to, because they were more independent, could do that, and met us down there, and EA went with them, but they had to bring their own food to pay for lunch. They had some of them helped order the actual food, and we ate as a group, but someone had to actually order the actual food. They had to go and get the necessary equipment they needed. So they had to go up and ask for what size shoes that they needed, and that they were there to bowl. And so it's teaching a lot more, working with the case manager, teaching again those transitional life skills of, we went to the bowling alley, and we ate some lunch, we went bowling, and we got our shoes, and some people got some other, they had the arcade in the back, and they did all of that. So we went to the bowling alley with some other kids. We went to a trampoline park. We talked about playing that. So, we've got a lot of different ideas going forward, but the bowling alley was a success. And we were going to do it towards the end of March, right before COVID hit this spring again, and we weren't able to do that. So we're looking forward to getting back and doing that, because we had a lot of success with that, and it was teaching a lot of great skills. Some more things to make it more like the real world. So do you have students that are going out into community work sites? We have kids that go and clean churches, they go and stack chairs, they go to the local food grocery store, and they move labels and cans around, and they do those types of things and get those, pull the stock from the back to the front of the shelves, and those types of things. They're doing that for part of their day. So my question is to you is, just like you or I would, you're going to go work out and then go to work. You're going to go to work and then you're going to go work out. Is working with those case managers and the paraprofessionals of how can you do that while they're all out, while they're out in the community. Like our grocery store is across the street from the YMCA. So they go and we were working on getting them to the grocery store, walking across the street to the YMCA, getting a workout in, and then catching the Hiawatha Transit back home. So that's something that we're starting to work on and trying to incorporate. This is what real life would be like. So then again, it comes down to, am I there? Am I changing my minutes to indirect minutes? But I always made sure that was the couple students that did this, I went with both the student and the paraprofessional to know this is what the student, these are the lifts the student knows how to do. This is how much weight they know how to do, and acclimated both para to the YMCA as well as acclimating the student to the YMCA, and really working on that relationship, and then kind of letting them go and do it on their own, because I may have other students at the time that they're working, and then just monitoring with the paraprofessional if I have time and it works out in my schedule to run down to the YMCA during my prep and see them in that setting, then I would do that as well. But that really kind of worked into that. Or maybe they would walk from one place to the next, or have Hiawatha Valley, Hiawatha Transit drop them off at a different place, different stop on their route, and then they would walk a little bit further. So instead of going to the YMCA for the day, they're just getting a walk in. So we're continuing to work a lot on that, working together of they're out in the community. How can we do this? We have a couple of students that would then take the Hiawatha Transit home after they were done with their work, obviously with parent permission, but they would take that home independently, and then text mom and dad, and text the case manager when they get home saying, "Yep, I made it home safely." So that's another way of working in our transition group, trying to get a little bit more independent. All right, so distance learning ideas. Again, nothing super out of the realm here. You probably things that I probably already know. Have as many lifetime-based activities as possible. Have assignments be that way. Last spring, I had a couple different kids that there was go to the park. We'd already been to the parks. Go to the park with a parent and fill out the form. So these students needed to still have supervision with parents, and they kind of knew that. So I kind of said, I talked to them at the beginning of this of what are some things that'll work as the weather got nicer, and that was kind of one of them. So one of them lived right near our elementary school that had a path around it, so they would walk down to the path, and that was one thing that kind of stuck. He's a student with autism. That part of it stuck, that when he got up, they did it, whether it was a DAPE day or not. A lot of times I had given him some other assignments via Google Classroom that he never really bought into. But then when I was emailing with mom in May just to see again how things are going, because he hadn't turned in any assignments, she's like, I couldn't get him to shoot baskets, which is another thing he liked to do, but and she couldn't get him to do any yoga regardless. But she's like, he has gotten into the routine, and when he gets up before we do the other school, he wants to go for a walk. So we go for a walk around our Sunnyside Elementary, and we come home. So that's something that is good for him to get out. He was a kid that was struggling to get out of the house to begin with. Had some OCD type issues, so that was good to hear that he maybe wasn't doing the other workouts, but he was getting more consistent with some of that. So like I said, the next one is, can he go to a park? Does the park have baskets? Can you play catch with a family member? And then you have to, on the Google form, whether it's just checking multiple choice box back, or if it's, short answer back to me of what they're doing. Another one is link video workouts with minimal equipment. I'm sure everybody scoured YouTube last spring for different types of workouts and things that were catching the eye of some kids. There's a lot of the ones. I have one student just graduated that he loved the Star Wars, so I found a lot of different Star Wars workouts that he really enjoyed. If it wasn't a Star Wars character, then he didn't really do it as much. But that's one thing that set his parents up, that said they would probably continue to find some of those Star Wars YouTube workout videos for him going forward. I posted some yoga videos and stretches for them to do along with it. So it was maybe you had to go out for a walk and then come back and try each of these stretches, these yoga stretches, and tell me which one you liked best, or which one you liked least, or which one is the easiest. Just some different ideas and things like that that we were all doing, especially in the spring when the weather wasn't nice. We're at home, working, and then we're taking a break and doing some yogas and different types of things at home. So those are just some different, ideas that I've had. I know this fall I am, going to add some more videos of different units and different things of maybe me and one of my other DAPE teachers. We're going to do some different workout videos together. We're going to do some different exploring, different recreation and leisure activities that you can do in the backyard. So it'll be maybe at one of our backyards, doing those, and then posting the videos of, yep, this is us playing beanbag toss, or this is, some of the rules, and this is us playing bocce ball and things like that, just to kind of keep the kids engaged a little bit more and interested in those types of things. So that's kind of all I have for you. Like I said, those are things that have worked with me. I would say the biggest thing is communicating with, your transition type teacher, whether it be, like I said, prior to this, it was the DCD, severe profound, and MM type teacher that kind of had them from ages a lot of times grade 8 and are billing through age 21. So it's working with them. But now, like I said, the last couple of years, we've had more of a transition type teacher working on that part of it. So it's working with them, it's working with speech language, it's communicating with parents of what do they want their child to do, or the group home, of how can you set them up? What are some realistic things that they can do in the group home, or what does the group home typically do? Do they take community outings? Do they go to the movie theater? What do they do? Do they like to play board games? Can they go to the park and those types of things? So it's all those types of things kind of, moving forward. So if you have any questions about any of this, again, here's my contact information. Again, my name is Peter Johnson. I teach down at Red Wing. The email is there. I do have a Twitter account. I didn't put it up here. I'm not as active on Twitter and posting some of those things. Maybe that's one of my professional goals this year, is to try to post some of those things on Twitter. I more follow than get out there and tweet. It's probably a change I need to make. So again, I want to thank you for watching. If you have any other questions, please just let me know.